Hi there, Abby. Sorry about the confusion. This is actually the document. Um, Hold on just one second. I want to send you the updated link to YouTube. And if you happen to be online now, you might actually be able to join me and talk, but probably not. So anyway, you'll be hearing this as a recording. What I recommend is to go ahead and look at, let me just make sure that it is showing this video. Yeah. Awesome. Go ahead and look at the Google Doc because it's probably a little bit easier to see the document there that way than on the video. I didn't have a lot of notes that I'm typing. I might add some things as I'm talking to you, but I just wanted to talk about your blank verse and your poems. Scrolling up and down a little bit here. I know that you mentioned that the short story kind of made you nervous, and I'm hoping that going step by step. I know everything goes so fast in this class, so hopefully things went a little better than you anticipated, and I'll be giving you comments on that via Google Docs later. But for now, I'm just kind of talking about the poems. When you are doing your process essay, you probably want to go a little bit more into detail about the genesis of the poems, about the different things that you did. If you had any sort of feedback, that you got from your peers in the workshops and what you did in response to that. You might want to talk about specifically poem 1 and poem 2. You have this sort of general paragraph about can you be more specific about each particular poem? Okay. Because that's pretty general. I'm glad they were helpful, the flow, but you could say like talking about specifically the line breaks or the things that you did. And I love that you want to push yourself to write in different styles, because if you scroll all the way down to the end, I am suggesting that you might try, and I sent this PDF to the entire class, some of these forms in your revision process or just on your own. And these are wonderful forms because repetition has kind of a magical quality, I think. And they give you these sort of templates to work with in the form, and can be a lot of fun. And I think it can also help you generate new material. Some of these are more complicated than others, but maybe we'll talk specifically as I look at these two poems about them. Speaking of form, let's talk about blank verse. Let's talk about iambic pentameter a little bit. The rhythm that we're listening for, and it should flow naturally with the way that the words are normally pronounced, is ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. Bum, 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 bum. So 5 like that, da, 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 da. And it seems to me that you understand what iambic pentameter is supposed to be. You worked really hard on this, I know. I'm not hearing that pattern the way these are normally pronounced. And I think what can be really helpful is for me to read it as if it were iambic pentameter, and then you can hear where it's not quite there in the way that the line is normally pronounced. So, sweet as, brown sugar, baked into a pie. This one I think is a little off because I would call this trochaic. To me, those two one-syllable words together sound like sweet as, not sweet as. Spicy and hot like Mexican salsa. So you've got two words that here have a stress that's stress unstressed, right? Salsa instead of salsa. And that's what's throwing the line off. This is the kind of woman you dream of. This is the kind of woman you dream of. Normally, I would do it like that. I would stress this one. So that's where that one flies a little bit off for me. The kind of woman you take to mama. You could even just say you take home to mom. Like that, right? See that? I'm going to do the kind of woman you take home to mom, like that. Let's give her a capital letter. I'm at my mom's house, so I want to do that. But how did she get here, you have to ask. This one works really well. See, you know what you're doing. You're like on your way. Self-love is the real answer to that inquiry. This one has some extra syllables. It's a little bit off. To love oneself radiates pure power. So again, I'm hearing this is stressed. Pure is stressed. Radiates, like raid is the strongest. And then the I is kind of, and then radiates. Let me unstress the D then. Radiates pure power. Radiates pure power. And then power and love and gratitude and joy starts with a stress syllable, so that's why it's a little bit off. Practice. Again, you're doing this a couple of times. Practice makes perfect. So practice this now. Now no one will say you can't have it all. So here's a quick way. I know make it sound like I think it's easy. It's not. No one will say you can't have it all. How's that? So no one, you could just even be like, now who will say that you can't have it all? Like that, can just change it. See? So if you wanted to revise this as an exercise, you can do it and submit a new version in Unit 4. It's optional. So interesting, the first version of the poem was centered. I have that rule saying don't center the poem. I think what happens with centering is you may not be attending to the line breaks as much if everything is sort of centered. But also, I think sometimes people get the notion, maybe from high school or something, that if you center it, it makes it look better, it's done, it's fixed. And I feel like people are less likely to want to revise it and kind of dig back in and to really see it as work in progress. And so that's one of the reasons. I like the way that you've played with the line breaks here. One thing you could consider doing, this one would be a good one to use because you have stop, feel as sort of a refrain. This one would be a good thing to use one of the forms that uses repetition, like perhaps a blues poem that repeats certain lines over and over. Pantoum also does that. And you could also turn this one into a Sistina. And what I'm going to do right now, a Sistina by Elizabeth Bishop, which comes up immediately. I don't know why they don't have it on something that is like the poetryfoundation.org, but you can see this. This one even has words like rain. It has house, grandmother, child, stove, almanac, and tears. And notice tears, house, almanac, grandmother, stove, child, tears. So it's like alternating. And if you scroll to the bottom, I'm going to just give you this link here. I don't know why it does that. I'm sorry. It's very annoying. I'm going to like take a minute here. All right. Elizabeth Bishop Sistina. So you can go to that yourself. But if you go to the bottom of this, this is awesome, the Sistina Generator. So you could take the words like rain, stop, feel, and it would just, let's just do it. And you see this? You would just copy and paste. It basically gives you a template, and then you would put and it gives you the instructions here. You copy and paste this into a Google Doc or a Word file, and that becomes the basis for your poem. I would love to see you try something like that. It would be a lot of fun, I think. And poem number 2. I think this one would be a good one to try. What doesn't come was never meant to be yours. What's meant for you will never leave your side. You know, what's funny is this is Iambic Pentameter. Is this what you used? No, you didn't. I was like, wow, that could have been your blank verse. I think one of the things about this is, again, it's a lot of statements that are truths. That's fine. But what we want is more concrete images, okay? I would say try the 5 senses exercise that you did for exercise in Unit 1, and see how that works. Actually, that was Unit 2. So sorry. Try it with this subject and see what images you can come up to portray this, because otherwise this is basically, to me, is not really using the techniques of poetry that we've been looking at throughout the class and the kinds of things that we've been seeing in the poems that we've been reading. It's more of like, here's my affirmations and my goals for the world. You know what I mean? And so that is something I think you could do for this poem. Start with concrete images. Another thing you could also do is, again, like you said, you want to kind of expand your repertoire. And so use another one of these forms. Think of some images, think of some concrete words, and maybe start using repetition here. Pantoum is when you repeat individual lines. The villanelle uses rhyme and meter, so that might be something fun to try. We've already talked about the Sistina. The Huzzle repeats certain words again and again. But I'd really like to see you try that. And even if it kind of fails, you know what I mean? Meaning it's not perfect or you can't quite get all the lines in the same form, you know, I'd really love to see you push your boundaries and try it, because for the final portfolio, I like to think of it as the next version, not the final version. And it's always possible for you to play with it and work with it even a little bit more after the class. But I'd like to see this one in particular transformed into something that uses concrete language. So those are my notes. I hope this is helpful to you. Be sure to let me know if you have questions, and wishing you all the best for the rest of the summer.